Welcome back to the Betting with Babies YouTube channel, the ultimate guide for sports betting dads. This is where we combine the best sports betting insights with responsible parenting tips so that you can manage a busy sports season and be a present parent along the way. Today we're going to break down our favorite picks for the NFL Week 9. We've got 3 games to highlight for this Sunday, and we're going to get right into it. Our first game to break down is the Colts versus the Vikings. The Vikings are home for this game. We've seen a little bit of line movement over the last 24 hours. Currently, the Vikings are minus 5.5. Now, the Colts have decided to bench their young quarterback, Anthony Richardson. He was the 4th overall pick in the draft not too long ago. He's only played a handful of games in the NFL and has only played about 12 games in college. So this is a quarterback that was drafted with the plan to develop him, and it looks like they are not seeing the development that they would like to see, or they want to send him a very stern message. And they're going to do that by calling on the ageless veteran, Joe Flacco. So Joe Flacco is going to come in against the high-powered Minnesota Vikings at home, a Vikings team that's lost some tough games recently. They started 5-0. They've lost their 2 straight. But this is a high-powered offense and an opportunity where I think they can get right and get back on track. As of right now, the majority of the money has come in on the Vikings, but it's not overwhelming. You do see some bigger bets come in on the Colts, which has brought the line to that 5.5 spot. It's been sitting and teetering 5 to 5.5. So we'll see where that ends up as we get closer to Sunday. There's some key injuries on the offensive line for the Colts. The Vikings are pretty much getting back their starting defense, so they're looking to really leverage that blitz package that they get with that defense, put a lot of people on the line, confuse the quarterback as much as possible. Obviously, Flacco has probably seen every package you imagine on the defensive side, but he's a little less mobile than Anthony Richardson. And so I think these blitzes could cause some challenges for the Colts, and they're going to look to get the run game going with their very own Jonathan Taylor. So what do we think here? For me, I look at this game because the Vikings are home, because of their high-powered offense and the health that they've gotten back on defense. I think it's an opportunity for the Vikings to really, get their confidence back and put a nice solid win against these Vikings. So, against these Colts, give me the Minnesota Vikings minus 5.5. I think they get it done at home. I think they win convincingly. I think the Colts are going to have some decisions to make after benching Richardson. We'll see how serious they are with keeping him off the bench here, because I don't think this is a game where Joe Flacco is going to look very good. So for my first game of the week, I'm locking in the Minnesota Vikings minus 5.5 at home. That brings us to our second game. We've got a game in the AFC. We've got the Denver Broncos going up against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens coming off a terrible loss to the Browns, a team where they just did not show up. They dropped a lot of passes. They allowed a lot of points on defense. Jameis Winston working his magic, had a surpriser last week and knocked a lot of people out of Survivor, that's for sure. But they're taking on the Broncos who have, I'd say, overachieved based on expectations to start the year. Their young rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, I can't say young, he's about 26 years old. I think he did about 8 years in college. He has come off to a great start. He leads rookies in passing and rushing touchdowns, in passing yards. There's a lot to be excited about if you're a Denver Bronco fan. Now, I look at this game and I say, okay, the Ravens looked bad last week. We know how good they can look. We saw them in primetime against the Bills. And then you got the Broncos, who have just constantly been giving offenses a lot of trouble and have been overperforming on offense. So why is the line so high? It's currently at 9.5. 9.5 line in the NFL is massive. And so for me, I think this line is a little sketchy. It was at 10.5. It's down to 9.5. You've got 41% of the bets on the Ravens, 59% of the bets on the Broncos at that plus 9.5 range. So, big money's coming on the Broncos to start. Now, I think it's a little early for the public. They haven't really picked their head up and started to look at the NFL games yet. And this is where we can get some good closing line value. Some historic trends that are important here. The Ravens are 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 games at home. They've been strong against opponents that tend to lean more on the run. And the Broncos, meanwhile, have struggled on the road, going just 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games. So history definitely leads towards the Ravens to cover. And not to mention, the Ravens made a big acquisition this week. They were able to get Deontay Johnson to come to their team for basically a washing machine. I think they gave up a 5th-round pick to get him, and he is someone who's going to slide right into this offense and look to take the top off of the defense. And so I like the Ravens to bounce back in a big way. At home, they're probably angry. They got a chip on their shoulder, and I just don't see the Broncos being able to move the ball as effectively against this Ravens defense. And I think Lamar Jackson gets himself a nice new weapon. He's going to figure out how to utilize that. But it just opens up the running game even more for these Ravens, which is going to be a problem for the Broncos. So give me the Baltimore Ravens in a big spread. I think the line tells you the story here. They're going to blow them out. And so give me the Ravens in a blowout, -9.5. Lock that in. That's our second game. So let's get right into game 3. We've got an NFC matchup, the Cowboys versus the Falcons. Both teams are, sitting in the middle of the pack here. They need to get hot and get on a streak to sort of give them some space, give them some breathing room as we get into the middle part and back half of the season. As of right now, the Falcons are at home. They are sitting at -2.5 favorite. They've got 40% of the cash on them, while the Cowboys have 60% of the total cash on them at +2.5. There's been a little bit of line movement to start. So, the Falcons actually opened up at +1. Now they're -2.5. So there's been some big bets that have come in on the Falcons, and now it's starting to tamper off, and you see some of the smaller bets coming in on the Cowboys. The injuries, Cowboys have a starting alignment that's going to be out, which can impact the run game. They don't really have a run game, so I don't think that has too much, value in this game or meaning in this game. And the Ravens are relatively healthy. I mean, they got their star running back healthy. He was dealing with a nagging hamstring injury for most of the, first 8 games of the season. He looked really, really solid last week. And then, they've got their starting defense out there with no big names to mention as far as missing. So this feels like a tight game to me. For me, I think I give the edge to an improving Cowboys defense, specifically with more intention stopping the run. The Falcons love to hand these sort of games away. They're at home, sort of seems like everything is in their favor, and this is where they sort of fall apart and make just simple mistakes. And I wish it wasn't the case, because I'm one to bet on the Falcons, and so I've lost a lot of money watching them make some of these silly mistakes. But in this case, I think where this game is going to end up is, special teams and defense, right? And so normally you'd say, okay, well, the Falcons have the edge there for sure on defense. But the Cowboys have really made some improvements, and they put the Niners on the ropes, had a chance to win that game. Obviously, they didn't get it done. But they showed that they can start to stop the run. They can go toe-to-toe with a good high-powered offense. And I like them to build on what they did in San Francisco. This is feeling like a must-win game for the Cowboys with the way the Commanders have been playing as well, and also for the Falcons. And so I look at this team and I say, okay, I got to pick the quarterback here. I got to think, who can I trust in this situation to go out and win a game? And in this case, I'm leaning at Dak Prescott. I think to look at Dak and say +2.5 on the road, I want to take those points. I'm going to lock in the Dallas Cowboys as my third pick of this week. Give me that 2.5 line. I mean, if you want to wait a little bit, with underdogs, the best practice is to wait as close to kickoff as you can. So I don't think there's any reason to rush this one. If this line gets to 3, you should absolutely snag it. But I like it at 2.5. I think the Cowboys do get a win outright here. So that wraps up my best bets of the week. Those are 3 free plays that we've got here on the YouTube channel. As always, if you guys are new here, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. We do these weekly where we give out our free plays and our best touchdown scorers. Last week, overall, we went 5 and 6 with the free picks that we gave out if you bet everything as a single bet, which we highly recommend. So let's get into some touchdown scores. There's some high scoring games. We like to look at games that have high totals. I like Robinson Jr. from the Commanders to get in the end zone this week against the Giants. He's one of our top touchdown scorers for this week. I also look at this matchup with the Vikings and the Colts, and I say this is a game for Justin Jefferson to get a whole lot of targets and to really stretch the field. So I like Justin Jefferson to get into the end zone. And then, there's not a week that goes by with Cooper Kupp on the field where I am not expecting Cooper Kupp to get in the end zone. I expect this Seattle Rams game to be a really close battle, back and forth, lots of the balls in the air. Geno averages the most passing yards per game. I think the Rams are going to have to match that firepower, and I think they do that with getting the ball to Cooper Kupp. So give me a Cooper Kupp touchdown as well. And then for our fourth touchdown scorer, we're going to go to a guy who has a lot of opportunities to score, one of the top targets that you're going to find in all of football, and that is Ja'Marr Chase. Ja'Marr Chase going up against the Raiders. This Bengal team's got their backs against the ropes. They're a 7-point favorite, but the Raiders, I think, are coming into this game saying, we can win this game. We can really, really ruin this Bengals season. So I expect this one again. When Gardner Minshew's out there, the ball's going to be slinging. Joe Burrow's going to have to keep up with that. I like Ja'Marr Chase to get in the end zone as our fourth touchdown scorer. So you can lock those bets in, our 3 best bets for the week and 4 touchdown scorers. I recommend betting each of those as single plays so we can continue to be profitable week over week. For those who like to parlay, don't put it all in one parlay. That's my recommendation. I mean, split it up into maybe 2 or 3 if you're going to do it. But again, the best bets and touchdown scorers will be profitable if you keep them in single bets. So as always, we really appreciate you tuning into this YouTube channel. We're going to do a lot more of these breakdowns. It's helpful for us to see with the likes and comments how you like the content. Feedback is a gift. So anything you guys would like to hear more of or less of, drop those in the comments. And as always, if you're interested in a membership with Betting with Babies, you can find our packages on WINIBLE. We offer free trials. We've got a daily, weekly, monthly subscription package available as well. But shoot us a DM if you have any questions. And good luck with your bets this week. We will see you again next week.